All right, we're on Keilim Perek Tet Mishnah Bet. We're in the second Mishnah, the 9th chapter, Masechet Keilim. So in the last Mishnah, we had talked about if there was this case where there was this ring inside, and we said that if it wasn't exposed, then it would stay tahor. Where if it was exposed, if it was inside, even though it was a tzamid patil, even though it was closed, then it would be tameh. Now, I got to be honest with you. There are areas of these laws that I don't really understand, but it seems that that's a question. That's a huge machloket, as we're going to see in our Mishnah. Meaning, I have a kli cheres, I have an earthenware, and I have a tzamid patil. Just imagine that this is made of cheres also. So now everyone agrees that if this is closed and I have it in a house of a tamei mate, in a house where there's a mate, then this stays tahor. But what about, let's say I have if I have something metal inside of it, it's called kli shetef. I put my headphones and I stick it in here, and I want to know, do my headphones, if I keep them in a tzamid patil, do they stay tahor or not? So that seems to be, the way I best understand it, a machloket between Beit Shammai and Beit Hillel. Okay, let's look at tzamid patil in the Wiki Yeshiva. They say that is it kli shetef inside or not? Okay, tzamid patil kol masha b'tachot tahor. They say everything inside is tahor because the kli cheretz tahor chotzetz. That's the opinion of Beit Hillel. Okay, now remember one more rule. It's only if my kli cheres itself is tahor. But if my kli cheres is tameh, I can't use it as a tamid patil. It doesn't work. So with that in mind, we're going to read the Mishnah and see how much of it we can understand. A very interesting case. It also appears in Masechet Eduyot. There's a lot of psychology here too. A lot of really, really interesting questions up to Araita, Derabanan, and Gzerot, the rabbinic decree. Says the Mishnah, Chavit shimleam mashkim tahorim. Okay, you have a chavit, you have a jug that's full of mashkim tahorim. It's full of, you have a jug full of, wine or whatever, but it's tahor, no problem. Uminikat bitocha. Minikat, Bartudera says, and all the explanations we have is kamin kanech chalul asui mimatechet. It's a straw that's made from metal. Shenodim rosho echad benekev achavit. You put one side in a hole. Umotzetz mipiv mirosho hasheni. You suck it out. V'yosim kol mashkim shebechavit derech oto minikat. It's a pump, kind of a pump, right? There's a. Let's look at Rav Posen for a second. The way he describes it, it's like a metal rod inside of it. Okay, and that's how you use it in order to siphon out. It's like a siphon kind of thing. Use it in order to siphon out. Now, I have my own question. If you can answer me, I don't know. Did they have the ability to make long metal tubes in the time of the Mishnah, i.e., 1st, 2nd, 3rd century? Was metallurgy that sophisticated? Again, interesting question. I don't know. If you do know, email me, WhatsApp me, and I'll share it with the group. That would be very useful to find out. I'm not really sure. That would have a big influence on what a minikat is. The Rambam actually says the minikat is made of cheres, a totally different halacha. Anywho, okay, mukefet tamid patil. Okay, now all of this is surrounded by tamid patil. Unutunam ba'oel hamei, and it's in an oil where there's a mate. Let's go back to our pose. And again, see here, the whole thing, you basically have a chavit with tahor liquid. It's got a metal thing in it, and it's mukefet tamid patil. Essentially, the exact same thing as my cup with my headphones, tamid patil. So basically, you have something with a tamid patil. Okay, now Beit Shammai says, hachavit v'amashkim tehorim. Yes, the chavit and the mashkim and the liquid inside are tahor. Uminikat tmeya, but the metal rod is tameh. Beit Hillel says af minikat tahora. No, they say I don't understand. We hold that tamid patil works even for anything inside of it. So why should the minikat be tahora? Beit Shammai says no. Yes, it works for the chavit and the mashkim, but it doesn't work for the minikat. And the Mishnah says chazu Beit Hillel lahorot k'divrei Beit Shammai. Beit Hillel, they discussed it, they talked about it, and then they decided we agree with you, Beit Shammai. So that's a simple understanding, a simple explanation of the words. What in the world is going on? Okay, how are we supposed to understand this? So the Bartunura says the following. Okay, there's a problem. Okay, the problem is we're talking about a chavit and mashkim of what's called an am haaretz. What's an am haaretz? An am haaretz is a person, normal person, am haaretz, as opposed to a chaver. I'm going to write this down for you. So you would have what's called an am haaretz. Okay, nowadays, by the way, the term am haaretz is pejorative. Oh, he's an am haaretz, meaning like he doesn't keep the Jew law. But It's not what it means in the Mishnah. Am haaretz means someone who was eno makbid al taharot. It wasn't makbid on all of the laws of taharot in its complexity, but they were makbid on tumat hamei. Whereas you have what's called the Chaver, who is makpid shekol keilav yu al taharat hakodesh. Chaver is basically, I don't know, you would say nowadays, someone who's super religious who only eats things and makes sure that all of his food is totally taharat hakodesh. So now you have a case here, okay, where the chavit and the mashkim belong to the am haaretz, and it's in the kli of the am haaretz. So the Kahati says the father. I'm going to explain it the way the Kahati explains it. Okay, so the Beit Shammai says yes, vis-a-vis the am haaretz, the chavit and the mashkim are tahorim. Yeah, we agree that it's tahor, but the metal kli is not tahor. Why? Because let's go back to our Chaver. Very often the Chaver, they live next to the am haaretz. They would ask you to borrow stuff. So the Chaver would never borrow a kli cheres from an am haaretz because he knows that he's not careful the way I'm careful. But he would borrow, and I don't have a kli matechet, he would borrow a fork or a spoon. Why? Because he figures out the guy's not careful about tuma and ta'ara the way I am, but I can just take it to the mikvah. I'll borrow his fork or his spoon, I'll take it to the mikvah, and we're all set. Okay, sorry about that, and we're all set. Okay, therefore, he's going to borrow. Therefore, he's going to chabit umashkim tehorim for the am haaretz. But minikat tamei, we have to tell him, listen, the minikat, the metal is tamei. Why? Because if we said it was tehorah for the am haaretz, and then he would lend it to the chaver, and the chaver wouldn't know. Hey, it was in an ohel hamet. This is for a simple reason. Remember, we said the kli is only the kli only saves if it's tahor. But remember, a kli am haaretz, it's not tahor midirabanan, it's tamei midirabanan. So whatever's inside is also tamei. And therefore, the chaver is not going to know that it's tamei. He's going to use it. Therefore, we have to say, listen, all the Keilim that are in its amid patil of an am haaretz is tamei. Said Beit Hillel, 1 second. Just for the chaver, if you say for the am haaretz that the chavit and the mashkim are tahorim, then the midikat is also tahorah. The metal is also going to be tahor for him because the am haaretz is not going to use it. Says about Torah, hilkach beklei cheres v'achalim, for klei cheres and food, mashkim and liquid, she'en lehem tahar b'mikvah, you can't put them in the mikvah. Shayu b'toch samid patil shel klei am haaretz, when they were in this sealed vessel. You say to them, Torim, it's good, you should use them the way you are. You're not afraid the chaver will borrow it from them. But klei shetef, but metal, this like metal rod or whatever, maybe the chaver will borrow it and take it to the mikvah, below has the ashli shush for you without treating it like an abatuma because it's metal. Then they said, no, everything has to be the same. And the Beit Hillel says, everything has to be tamei. Beit Hillel says, no. Why should it be tahor? It should be tahor for the am haaretz. Then Chazu Beit Hillel, when Beit Hillel heard Beit Shammai's logic, and Beit Hillel said, listen, Beit Shammai said, I'm afraid that the chaver is going to borrow for the am haaretz. Then Beit Hillel says, you know what? We're right. We see your point. And we'll make this wacky din that the chavit and the mashkim are tahor. In this case, the wacky din, the chavit and the mashkim are tahor. But any metal inside of an kli am haaretz, I think kli am haaretz, is going to be tamei. We'll stop here, dedicate our, and again, if you have comments or insights and you think I explained it incorrectly, let me know. rspolter@gmail.com. We'll dedicate our learning. Remember my father, Rav Simcha ben Yitzchak Kalman. Make it a great day.